Are we live? We should be live. Someone confirm we are live. Mod. Some messages. Yeah, we good. Well, greetings everyone. Welcome to our first stream. It's very weird talking to the camera knowing that I can't edit it out afterwards. But yeah, first of all, thank you for coming. And yeah, I wanted to do a live stream because, well, usually I just edit videos that are like a ton of different takes, and I try to compress a lot of information in, like, you know, a package that people can watch and learn the most out of it. But I don't feel very human doing it. Like, now I'm sitting here and I'm talking to you, but usually it's a very, I don't know, it's a bit disconnected. So for 1K subscribers, I thought might as well. And I can't really make a video about like mechanics we're developing for our game or anything like that that covers the whole thought process. And I think for game designers, that is where a lot of like interesting ideas come from. So yeah, the sound only comes from the left. Let me see what that could mean. From the left. Is it like that for everyone? Ah, okay. Give me just 1 second. This is my first time, so we are a bit how do I even set that up? Is it better now? Don't know if that's like OBS thing. Same? Poof. Got it. I'm on a different computer right now because my original laptop is a Mac and it has only two. I don't have the dock and it only has two USB-Cs, so I'm trying to figure this out on the fly. Okay, I guess it's this thing. Device not connected. Oh, it is set to mono. If I set it to stereo, better. Yes. Test. Well, I guess I have to keep talking so you can know if it's... Why is this even a thing? What is happening? Well, I don't have the pan options on the audio interface for the mic, so I only have it in software, but it's centered. Let me see if... Turn mono audio on and off. Okay, turn mono audio. Is it better now? Mod is sending me things, a lot of tutorials. And you can hear my Discord. Okay, I will mute that as well. Baby steps, people, baby steps. properties. Oh wow. Is it different now? I have disabled system audio and excellent. Wow, amazing. Amazing. So yeah, for today, I really wanted to just chat a bit, tell you about myself, tell you about where I come from, what is the TTRPG scene here, because I really think it's interesting. A lot of people that are watching our stuff are in the hobby for a long time and are from places where this hobby has lived for a long time. And here, I feel like it just arrived. There are a lot of people that were playing in their own like homes, but there was never like a place to go and like buy books. A lot of these books are actually just smuggled into Serbia from Germany. I have a friend there, and then he gets them for me. But you don't really have a store for that. You don't really have a place up until now to go and play stuff. So we developed kind of like this isolated way of playing where every game that comes, you just want to play it and like try new things. And we ended up with really, like when I started DMing and people from like my friend circle started coming and enjoying the games, there weren't any like rules that people usually follow, like, oh, you play D&D strictly for like 10 years and then you don't want to try another game because you have invested so much in one, and then you are afraid that you have to invest the same amount of time in another, even though the rules are easier for some games. So there's none of that. People treat TTRPGs here as board games, for example. So you would get a new book and be really excited to just get it on the table. And then mechanics and things started like bleeding out from one game to another, and we are now in this bubble where everyone is very open for collaborative storytelling. And I'm telling you all of this because at one point we wanted to play a game, like a homebrew game that is set in 2055. I talk a lot about it on my channel, but we wanted to do that, and I found myself in this like almost like I really like Call of Cthulhu, but the system is not very beginner friendly. But then again, I really like Cult, but I don't like its approach to scenarios, for example, and Powered by the Apocalypse is very abstract. So I wanted to play something in between, and that's how yeah, exactly. We'll come to that. So we wanted something that's literally in between those two systems, and we started developing our own game. And because a lot of people are coming and going, we had a lot of people give us feedback on what they like and what they don't. It was not a game still at this point, so we had a lot of people just come and play this mutated thing that we almost like discovered, not even made, and people are playing that and enjoying it. And at one point we said, okay, we should sit down and write it all into like a rule book or something and see if we can give it to other people to play as well. Maybe we like finish it as a full-on game and put it on the Retro RPG or something. So that's how the whole thing of like let's make a game started. And honestly, I haven't developed a TTRPG before. I've been DMing for a while, and of course homebrew and like making a game are kind of close, but it's like homebrewing everything. So it was tough, but I did have some experience in game development, like computer game development, video games, and I really like how this translates, like this, everything that I ever wanted from video game development, I am actually getting in TTRPG development, because it's all of the game design, like juicy things without any of the coding. I mean, don't get me wrong, I really like coding, but you know, it's slow, and to test a new idea, it takes a lot of time. So this is freaking amazing. And yeah, so let me just check something. So yeah, I think the first time we talked about. Redmark was on the Get Barbaric event. If you don't know, it's Peter from Tales from Elsewhere and Odin's Key Gaming. They made like this event where you can make like barbarian in your own system, and then they would review all of the submissions. And I really I had like 2 days to get this prepared and done, and to edit the video, because I was really sick when I came back from India, and it ended up being like a huge success. I was really shocked by the amount of positive feedback. So that's why this stream is even happening. It's very cool stuff. But yeah, I didn't see a lot of games that are in the horror genre that take this approach. Like, it is a narrative. I wouldn't call it narrative first approach, because that's a bit strange. I honestly think like all of games are narrative first in a way, but I really like the tactical side of, for example, combat, not from like how much you can move from one place to another, but more like you need to have moment-to-moment decisions that you're gonna make in, so you feel like you're planning out things. And on the other side, I like it to be simple enough that I can get people that were never in this hobby to play it. And I can see those games in like a fantasy setting. There is a bunch of them, but I couldn't find anything like that in horror. There are games like Unknown Armies is something that caught my attention, but I think there, I don't know if you're familiar with it, but they have like these mental like gouges, and you go from like, I don't know, your behavior and what you experience and your roles influence like how those mental gouges move, and you would become like either very vulnerable to violence, or you would be like completely hardened and like almost like a sociopath or a psychopath. And I think those are very hard to roleplay. So it is simple, but it's hard to roleplay. And we then looked at like the most, like maybe the one thing that even in Call of Cthulhu is the hardest thing to explain to people, and that is sanity. So in Call of Cthulhu, yes, it's hard for you to go through all of the skills and remember like what you roll for what, but there's the GM to tell you what to roll. But as soon as we hit the sanity topic, people get a bit confused, especially because, you know, you can't tell someone, well, you have compulsion, for example, or you can name any like mental disorder and say, well, your character develops this. It's very hard to like wrap your head around, to figure out how you should roleplay it. Even for more experienced roleplayers, it's still how you view those conditions through your understanding of them, and then trying to imitate that. And then you're asking yourself, am I doing this right? Am I doing it justice? So I think sanity is a very interesting topic. And I've also heard that, well, when you call it sanity, it does imply that you're going mad by losing it. And I don't think, especially in Call of Cthulhu, okay, there you are going mad by losing it. But in our system, I wanted it to be something that's closer to like stability, for example. In Call Divinity Lost, there is a stability mechanic where whenever you witness something that is like getting you shook up, you are losing stability, and you have stability levels. For example, I don't know, you go from like normal stability to anxious to disturbed to whatever. Maybe I'm not remembering the names right, but that's the gist of it. And you have some penalties for those. Again, interesting approach. It does give you some sort of description of how you should react to that stability decrease, but it's still not like you don't have the nuance there. So we have these two different approaches. One is strictly like tied to like almost like a condition that we are familiar with as humankind, and then you have this other approach that is very like based on levels, you know. I've seen other approaches as well where people divide, for example, sanity and stability into two different things, where stability is how well you handle like how stable you are, how you react to things basically, internally, and then you have sanity, which is, or is it the other way around? Basically, you have two gauges. One is internal, one is external. One is how you feel, and the other is how others would see your reaction. So when both go down, you just go insane. I have some notes here. That's why I'm looking at it, and chat. So another thing that people usually say, like why I said that sanity is a very polarizing topic in a way, is that, I don't know, people don't like losing agency, and when you go to some sanity loss in Call of Cthulhu, you are being instructed by the GM, hey, you really want to, for example, have a drink, or you really want to, I don't know, run outside and attack anyone you see. And at this point, like, players might feel like, okay, I need to do this. This is not me playing my character anymore. I'm instructed to do it in a certain way. So those are all things that we struggle with. Like, if you have a new player and you represent something like this, they can struggle with it. And taking all this into account, we wanted to make sanity/stability system. All the names that we gave to things are work in progress. We call it sanity basically because it's the most widely used term. I mean, Call of Cthulhu uses it, and then you have a bunch of other systems and indie systems that also use it. So we adopted it, but I think we are going to change it to either mood or stability because of how it functions in our system. I don't know if you know any systems that take completely different approach, where it's not just a gauge that you go down or levels. I'm very interested to have a look at that. Currently, I've been through just the most famous ones, like Call of Cthulhu. Delta Green has an interesting approach. It's very similar, but with some changes. Cult, Unknown Armies, Gumshoe system, and yeah, let me show you one thing that I think is very interesting. So I'm just juggling a lot of things at once. This is harder than it than it looks. Okay, so you should be seeing the top-down view now, right? Mod, confirm. Amazing. So let's get into the thing, the meat of the matter. So for those who don't know, I've talked about a bunch of sanity systems here, but for those who don't know how sanity functions in Call of Cthulhu, for example. So you have this meter, right? And you start here, and if you come to 0, you will go completely insane, and then the GM can basically take your character, do whatever they want with him, and your character either becomes an NPC or something horrible happens to them. But when you lose 5 or more sanity, you have what is called a bout of madness. And the bout of madness is a very short, like D10 minutes, I think, is the time. Very short disturbance in how you feel. Like, this is where you lose agency. So right, you lose agency. Well, it's decreased, not necessarily lost, but you need to do what the bout of madness says you should do. And how you know what the bout of madness says you should do? Well, I think I have it here. Let me show you this. Right, here it is. So you would have this table that basically instructs you, like, roll a d10 for how long it lasts, roll another d10 to see like which of these is going to happen. And if you look at these, you have like amnesia, psychosomatic disability, which is like losing control of one of your limbs, basically. Violence, you can like attack your friends or foes or everyone in the room. Paranoia, I don't know, you can faint, flee in panic, or you have a phobia, mania, or something like that. And then you have a ton of different phobias and manias that you can roll for. So, oh, where's the other one? So basically, this happens. Now, depending on the situation, if you just lost 5 and you get the bout of madness, you're pretty okay afterwards. But if you have lost like a fifth, like 1/5 of this gouge, then you have indefinite insanity. So there is this continuation where you don't have bout of madness anymore, but you have this period called lingering insanity. So during this time, you're not experiencing these effects anymore, but you can, for example, have delusions. How do you spell delusions? Something like that, I think. Oh, just now I'm skipping some of the details. Of course, when you get like manias or delusions, or compulsions or something like that, every time you get about a madness, all those activate as well, the ones you had previously and all of that. But I'm interested in like this part in particular because during delusions, the GM can basically give you like hallucinations or thank you, Twin Steel. Basically give you like visions or things, just describe things that are in a wrong way, just lie to you outright. And if you want to doubt that and see like, okay, am I being lied to, you do like a reality check. And then if this fails, you have another bout of madness and you have this spiral into madness. So what this is trying to achieve, in my opinion, is basically to feel like you're going more and more insane. And to cure, like if you go indefinitely insane, to cure this, you need to go and see like a doctor and do something in between sessions, and you have to commit to it. But for us, when we look at this, things that we want to keep are, we want a sort of a meter. Okay, you can go with levels like Cult did, but we really wanted to have sort of like a meter for sanity. Bout of Madness sounds interesting, but imagine having like no control over how it's gonna manifest for a certain amount of time, and then you're like, okay, if you forget about the lingering insanity part, then like this happens and then you're like completely cool. That didn't feel right when we played. So for us, the number one thing was, what type of resource is sanity? Is this another health pool? Is this something that is tied to like mental stats? So if you have HP for physical stats, is this HP for mental stats? I don't really want it to be that, because then it doesn't really serve the purpose of boosting roleplay. Having no agency over how you go insane also, it can be interesting. For example, we really like one thing that got us into Call of Cthulhu is that we really liked the bout of madness collapse when everyone gets a bout of madness. You approach this climax of the whole scenario, the session, and everybody starts going like freaking out, and the creative ways they try to bend this prescribed lunacy and somehow still manage to go through the encounter. And it's just the craziness here is what got us into Call of Cthulhu. So this is cool, but we wanted to have more roleplay freedom in it. And at the end of the day, delusions is something that if you are not really a hardcore player of Call of Cthulhu. And by the way, in forums and other people that I talked about, usually people forget that they can do this. Like GMs forget that they have this power because there is no way to know that you're still having this lingering insanity. And there is a disconnect between bouts of madness and lingering insanity. The way you had your bout of madness doesn't always influence your lingering insanity. And that is, you know, that's why I think it's hard to roleplay, right? So we want to have sort of like a gouge. We want this to be intuitive for roleplay and to last long enough that you can really figure out that something is wrong with the character. Let me see if I got it right. Right, so, oops, sorry about that, I just hit the mic. So what we did, first of all, to understand like our design choices, I have to just go through the core of our system really quickly. I mean, those of you that saw the Barbarian video or even the skills video probably know everything there is to know here, but basically we have split skills. That is a whole other discussion why we decided to do it like this. But basically you have these 6 skills and then you have 6 aspects, and how you know what you should roll for each thing is you combine skills and up to 2 aspects, and that means something. So for example, you want to, I always give this example, you want to like kick down a door on a, I don't know, a warehouse, you would use like force industry. But if you want to, I don't know, kick it, not kick it down, but use like leverage or like crowbar or something, then you might like use your knowledge of the natural world, like basically science, to really know how much leverage you need to open it up. So you would use force industry science, for example. And it is vague because both players and GMs will eventually know for your group what does it mean to use force industry science, and you get that intuition based skills going. It's like a language between the GM and the players that you like sort of figure out during play, and then you can even have like a small bargaining. Like when in Call of Cthulhu someone says, well, I want to search this room, and then you can search for papers like library use, or you can do like investigation. I don't know, I'm mixing up Cthulhu, Call of Cthulhu and Cthulhu Eternal here, but I think you have both skills there. Either way, the same. Yeah, thank you for stopping by. So the same way you bargain there with the GM, like, hey, can I roll this one or is it strictly that one? You say, okay, maybe it's not force science, industry science, or something like something else. In the example that I gave, it's pretty clear that it's these 3. So we have these skills, and they are the same as in Call of Cthulhu. They go from 0 to 100, where an average person has 30 and above person has like 70. Everything beyond 70 is considered like almost supernatural. You can go over it, but this is the like range that all of the characters are in. So you have these skills, and they're important for sanity. You will see why. And let me just clean up a bit. So the next thing that we need here is to talk about how you represent people going insane, or a better question is how you represent people like losing their nerves in a way. So if you, I don't know, if you, for example, have a very bad day, or if I went outside and saw a dead body, I would be shocked, and that would influence my whole day, and I wouldn't become like sorry, throw this down. I wouldn't become schizophrenic, or I wouldn't, okay, I might faint, vomit or whatever, but I wouldn't be just, I wouldn't develop a compulsion or a mania. I would be very shaken the rest of the day. Maybe some things that I do would be slightly different, slightly wrong. So if we push this to its extreme, how do you even model a mind that is shattering? First things you see are that people are reacting different to different things, and this is what we wanted to model. So instead of having a bout of madness happen every time, and just when you lose a certain amount of sanity, we said, okay, we have the gouge, the same. Oh, let me just switch it. So we have the gouge as well, like I think it's even here. So we have like max sanity and current sanity, and we borrowed this idea from Cthulhu Eternal, where they say, okay, somewhere along this gouge is a breaking point, right? And when you come to this breaking point in our system, you acquire a trigger. So a trigger is anything that in that situation was like notable for you. So if you got the trigger as a result of violence, you might have a very vague trigger that is just called violence, right? But if you have, for example, you were in a room full of mirrors and something happened, the GM can also say, okay, mirrors are now your trigger. We joked around, the co-creator that I'm working with, Lazar, he had one story that he wrote where a guy that is in a very, how would I put it, strange world, at one point sees a spoon and just vomits because he saw a spoon. For some reason, the spoon was very, like it was a trigger. It triggered a certain reaction. So we thought that if you gain a bunch of these triggers that are very random, like random things, you can model any type of like instability, especially if these triggers are what causes the bout of madness. We call it manifestation of madness, but also working title, it can change. So then we said, okay, but in Call of Cthulhu, when you lose 5 sanity points, that is sort of a trigger. So we said, okay, let's add that as like an implicit trigger for everyone. If we're playing with people that are more like familiar with Call of Cthulhu, sure, we have 5 or sanity. If you lose more or equal to 5 sanity, you get manifestation of madness. Another one was when you reach the breaking point, you also have this. So now we can add things in here even at character creation. So we said, okay, for the barbarian video, for example, we said if the barbarian gets like shook up and can't hear his breath, all his physical stats go up by 10%, but he will attack anyone in his vicinity. So we can play around now with these triggers. These are like, I'm hitting the mic. These are modeling the psychological state of the character now. And of course, when you reach the breaking point, you get the new breaking point, and there is some, like, it's tied to your skill values where that breaking point is. So cool, we have the triggers. We don't use terms like, I don't know, like that are tied to mental illnesses. We don't use terms that are any sort of like manias, compulsions, all of that. We just say, okay, you gained a trigger. And all of the triggers trigger the manifestation of madness. And this is where we really struggled with, like, what is the manifestation of madness? Because we said earlier that the bout of madness is too isolated. And we wanted this to be a thing that, like, lasts for a while. And that is something that is in the player's like it's in their hands to somehow manifest it, right? And our idea was to somehow connect it to these skills. So you would, when you get a manifestation of madness, you would roll a d6, and then you go just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So at this point, we have sense. So this would be, for this manifestation of madness, this would be your main skill. And you choose one aspect depending on the current situation. We call those dominant aspects. So if you're in a forest, that will be nature. If you're in a city, that might be industry. This is something that the GM works out. So let's say we have, for example, manifestation of madness that says sense industry, for example. So now we have a table of examples, but what if, but it's pretty open-ended how you're gonna interpret this. Now, I know if for people that are not into roleplay that much, this whole system can be really very optional. You can still experience Red Mark without doing something like this, but if we kind of had this philosophy, we're developing a game for our group, so this works for us. Like when you get sense industry, some of my friends actually said, well, if this manifestation of madness is powerful enough, well, you can kind of interpret it as, you know, if you watched the show Better Call Saul, and I think everyone has at this point, the brother, was his name Chuck, I think? The brother, he had this fear. Let me just check something. Right. So Saul's brother, he had this really strange fear of anything electrical, like wires in his home were like removed from the walls, and he had to wear like aluminium foil around him to even like go outside. And this type of thing, like it can start very like subtly. For example, you just get irritated when you see someone on the phone, or you go into a bar, sit down, see a TV that's turned on, and you just lash out like, can you turn off the TV? Maybe get confrontational, physical if they don't want to. Like these little things that the character, that the player can incorporate into their character to somehow like make this happen, make the combination of sense industry happen. And you can go with like other things. For example, force industry would make this different. Maybe you have a very big like you're just sick of technology around you, or it doesn't need to be technology. If you say industry, it can be anything that is man-made. So you can decide to roleplay that as just being, again, irritated by people that use technology. You can go and just smash cars if you want. It's open for interpretation, and that is what we wanted. It gives this ability to people to have some what is the word, agency. Basically, you have some agency in how you're gonna interpret this sanity. So this is where we are at now. So breaking point, triggers, manifestation of madness. Oh, let's just switch. Yeah. So breaking points, triggers, manifestation of madness, and then skills, and you roleplay it. The cool thing is that these triggers can be cured, of course. Each of them has a certain level that you get by the die that pushed you over the breaking point. That's the level of the trigger. And you can either cure it by having a little interlude with someone like other players, or like professional help, or any of the like bonds you have in the world, or you can clear it by interfering with the manifestation of madness. So let's say that one of the characters, their trigger activated, they're now very they're not cooperative with the rest of the party. One of the players from the party can try to calm them down. If they succeed, well, you put a little like thing next to the trigger, and when you have done that the same number of times as the level of the trigger, you basically cured it. You can't cure these two, the main ones, but the ones you got from the breaking point. Now, what we saw in the play, and this is something that I think everyone should be aware of, is when developing mechanics like this, is that in the game, especially in one-shots, you need to really push this bar down to actually see any of the triggers like manifesting, right? That is, it's very hard to test sanity mechanics if you're doing one-shots and if you're not like really destroying this meter. I know in a lot of Cthulhu scenarios it is the point of the game to really get this low as fast as possible, to have the, I mean not as fast as possible, but just to somewhat combine it with the pacing of the game so that you get the whole reaction at the right time. But in our game we wanted it to be a bit more of a like I would say triangle between like action, mundane things, and eerie creeping horror. So we want to constantly go in between these three. I think this system is much more interesting when played over like 2 or 3 sessions, because you can actually experience all three and see how that functions. We went away from having like strictly monsters in the game to having like slightly we call it void touched people, void touched locations and objects, like slightly anomalous things, and you're spending most of the game in like the wake of those things, like what a void touched person left like behind. That's what you're experiencing. You're experiencing the consequences, and sometimes you are meeting them and having an interaction with them, but everything that happens is in that eerie vibe. What do you think about triggering or pushing the mental breaks with events or monsters? I'm not sure what you mean. Like pushing sanity down with monsters and and events, or just like having monsters and events directly influence the trigger, like triggering the thing. Both. Well, if you see a monster, of course, every monster, if you haven't experienced the monster. So yeah, that's something that I should probably mention. The last revision of Sanity has this reference table for the GM that basically says, okay, this is how much sanity the character will lose in different situations. So you have our division is into like mundane atrocities, which are things that, well, you see in real life, but are like not comfortable to be seen. You have reality fractures, which are all the things that where the void seeps through, and you have reality collapse, which is like complete just being encompassed by whatever void-like thing is. So for example, reality fracture would be, I don't know, walking next to a dog and the dog starts talking to you in a strange language, but you understand every word of it. Then when you come closer, it just barks. I'm coming up with these on the spot, but like that would be a reality fracture. But opening up basement door and seeing like a red sky and like a stairway to hell, whatever, would be reality collapse. And all these have certain, like, have you witnessed it before, or is this your first time? And for each of those you have like a proposed number of die that will mark your sanity loss. So for example, I don't know, a mundane atrocity would be, if you've seen it for the first time, that would be just a d4, well, you just lost 4 sanity. So this meter goes down, and if that meter hits the breaking point, whatever caused that breaking point trigger is gonna become your trigger. And of course, the GMs can really play around with this. Like, if you want something to be like, if you want the character to experience the manifestation of madness frequently, you can choose something that's very mundane as the trigger. Maybe if you want to have it happen rarely, you choose something strange that was in the room when that happened. For our dog example, it can be just a dog. A dog triggers your manifestation of madness every time. And you can imagine how frequent that can be if you're in a place where there's a lot of dogs. But you can also say, I don't know, a language you don't understand can be for that situation, or you can really go be creative with it. Like, if you saw that dog for some reason in front of a bank, you can say that that certain bank's brand is your manifestation of madness. You can really be creative with it. Especially like if you have witnessed a monster or something, you can literally say, okay, that monster is my trigger. So yeah, it is in the GM's hands to somewhat model how much and how frequently this is gonna happen and how much sanity is gonna be lost, but you have this reference table that should explain things. Now, we have a problem here. We said, okay, this is all cool, right? It models something, it gives some freedom. It looks like a lot at the beginning, but honestly, in our games, we usually end up with having like, I don't know, for 10 sessions, I think we had like characters have like 1 trigger, some had none. Although that was a much more action-based game. We had one-shots where people got like 2 or 3 triggers, but it was just chaos at some point, which is what we want to achieve. If you can live with triggers and you have some conditions and injuries and you can balance that and still like not get your character like, you know, dead, well, great. But usually when this gets filled up, characters are already pretty close to their demise, especially because an average person has 10 HP. An average gun deals d6 damage. So combat and all of that, yeah, characters don't live long in this game. So what our current design problem is that, okay, we had this whole thing. You get the manifestation of madness, you select your skill and your aspect, and now you're gonna roleplay that. And then what happens if you get another? So you lost 8 more sanity. You went through the breaking point. Some of your triggers activated. You have to choose another. Well, there were some ideas that we played around with. We don't have this, we haven't figured it out, but I thought it would be interesting to mention here. One idea was to have levels like in Cult, so have 3 stability levels. First time your manifestation of madness is just what I described. You get agitated by things that are in this category. The next level, and this is something our mod here on the stream proposed, is that on the second level, the GM starts interfering with you, like giving some instructions that you can do or you can avoid doing. If you want to like fight that urge, if you want to avoid doing what the GM is trying to push into your character's head, well, you have to sacrifice something from your character sheet. Usually, I don't know, like, if you're familiar with how luck works in Cthulhu games. It's basically a pool where you can use it to boost rolls. Sometimes the GM asks for it to see if you were lucky in some situations where no other skills would suffice. Sometimes you use it to figure out if who is going to be attacked by an enemy. It can be used for a lot of different things. And we use it in pretty much I wouldn't say the same way, but very similar. You can use it, You can spend it to boost your rolls, and I do like using it for things like if you're getting shot, like a save. For example, if a reflex save in other games is not like, it's not a reflex thing if you're getting shot at, it's sometimes more of a luck thing. It's like a Joker thing for GMs when you're not feeling any other rolls, so you are like, well, this is maybe just a matter of luck. So luck is important, and one idea was, okay, you can spend luck to ignore the command that's given by the GM. This is something that we figured out today. This is not tested, or it's just throwing ideas. And at the third level, this is the closest to the Bout of Madness from Call of Cthulhu. In the third level, you get the GM's instruction, and you need to like cooperate and do those things. You can, of course, have your way of achieving that, but for example, I like compulsions. You need to do something. It sounds interesting. I'm afraid that it might add to the complexity, because this is something that's that needs to be remembered, like which level of sanity you are, and do you put it on the character sheet, or is it something that is remembered? I'm not really fond of remembering a lot of things, especially moment to moment. So this is one idea. We had another idea where you can be, you just have two states. Do I have something to... I hope this chaotic way of explaining what we're doing works. This isn't okay. It's a dry erase marker, but it doesn't really want to get erased. Okay, chaos. We continue with chaos, just on the paper. I hope this makes sense, and I'm not just throwing a lot of terms at you. But we had another idea where you have just two categories, right? Whatever you were doing so far, so Manifestation of Madness, you were doing with your regular things, and then GM influenced part. And you saw every skill has a certain like value, so their percentages, and they, if you have force 70, so your first Manifestation of Madness is 70, then you have, for example, you throw the d6 and another skill gets selected, let's say 30 for sense, then you have 30. So as long as this total is less than 100, you just have regular Manifestation of Madness that you had the first time. But if this goes over 100, then the GM can influence you. Again, you have to keep track of some numbers, and even though, like, especially in combat and all that, there is numbers to be kept. This is not one of those completely rules light systems. As I said, it's somewhere in between Call of Cthulhu and Cult, so we like numbers, but we don't want to have things that you need to remember, because usually Manifestations of Madness happen in tense situations, right? You saw a monster, something creepy is happening, maybe you're running away, you're in the moment, maybe a couple of people are having bouts of madness or Manifestations of Madness at the same time, so you don't want to be tracking numbers at that point. So yeah, this is what we're struggling with right now. I don't know, there is like an interesting thing that I also wanted to mention. No, I forgot what the third one was. Never mind. So yeah, this is where we want to go. Yeah, I remembered. So Call of Cthulhu has this very cool thing where sometimes when you're in that lingering insanity that we talked about. So if you remember this part, so when you have lingering insanity, and after any bout of madness, so around here, the cool thing is that the GM can take your character sheet and change something on it. Doesn't have to tell you what they changed, just change a number, change like a bond you have, whatever, change how you feel about something, add a little note on it. So you can really play around with this. I didn't mention that part right away because we are focusing on the player side of things, how the players will roleplay all of that. But yeah, the GM has the freedom to do something like this, to change things on your character sheet, and I think that's pretty interesting. Still, I wouldn't do it in like in the middle of tense, insane situations, but after everything clears, you can take that character sheet and change it. If you're playing multiple sessions, you do it in between sessions. Pretty interesting stuff. Right, so that's my explanation of this. I haven't played Memento Mori. I saw it. I didn't play it. I also know that the mechanic of humanity in Vampire the Masquerade, someone told me to check it out. I actually have the book somewhere, like right here, but it's a huge book. Like I didn't have time to read it yet. I mean, Unknown Armies just arrived, and I've been reading that. I mean, interesting ideas, but as I said, too vague for my liking when it comes to how you are supposed to interpret these. I know you can say for this system that we made that it's also very vague in your interpretation, but there you really have those sliders that mean something, and you have to figure out a way to really put all of those sliders into your character's personality, which I think is a bit hard, at least for me. Also, like Unknown Armies, really strange approach to things. I mean, it's gonna be played at the table for sure. I can't form a proper opinion on it without playing it. But yeah, I mean, the development of this is pretty fun, and I think no one does like void horror, this thing that we're trying to do. At least I haven't found a game. Usually, like all of the games that I found in this genre are either very like paranormal, and as soon as you see, when I say paranormal, I think like you have things that are monsters, basically anomalous things, and when you put a monster in front of a player, the genre of the game somewhat changes, and I think it's okay, but we have to be aware of that. So as I said, especially in like campaigns, it is really hard to keep the horror going if you introduce monsters. At that point, you are aware that you're gonna meet monsters and that's your reality. But if you're not aware of what exactly is wrong with the world, that is what we're trying to achieve. Every illustration in our book, every story that you read should invoke a feeling of, well, something is just off. Like things inspired by, I don't know, urban legends, liminal spaces, that sort of like feeling. But we don't want it to just be like exploring a liminal space, you know, just crawling through it. We wanted it to really be like a thriller type of experience. So you can have a high-speed chase on motorcycles in one scene, and then you can just experience some really creepy and unsettling things in another. I don't even know how much of that I can say on YouTube, but on our Discord we're trying to get a habit of documenting how we're developing this. And yeah, the art is coming in. So our plan for the next couple of, I would say, months, not to be too optimistic, is for now we have the player guide done, and we want to like add a bit of like GM advice, and we want to add a bit about the setting, probably like one adventure to really just paint the picture of how that all works. And we want to put it into the like do the book layout, add some art, and have that as the book prototype. I think if game dev on like video games taught me anything, that's that you need to have a prototype. Of course, in these types of in this type of development, it is more like a quick start, right? For everyone to just jump into the game. But I want to have a quick start and the prototype as two different things, because the prototype is pretty much your book but smaller and just demonstrating the concepts across everything, just painting the picture of how the setting feels, the rules, everything. And the quick start, I would probably not include that much art. I would strip down the rules. That's maybe the biggest difference. Like the prototype will have more extensive rules than the quick start. Both will be available for free, probably on our Discord. Well, we will make a website or something on itch or whatever. They will be free, and we will probably be selling the version that is full of art and that sort of thing. And the anything that we earn from that would be used to pay for more art, of course, for the bigger book. So yeah, that is the plan. I had notes on, like, you know, to be smart about it and go over like what our game is and how I would talk about it, but when you're live, that all just goes to, you know, it just falls apart. You start rambling. So yeah, let me check, some messages are coming in. Oh, cool stuff. So yeah, I don't know if you have any questions about what I talked about so far. Just shoot them in the chat. I see the mod is just rocking it solid. How long are we even live for? I have no idea. This streaming thing is just, it's horrible. And I am watching everything on a very little screen. I have no idea what is. There is a message. Hour. Well, an hour is fine, right? For covering such a topic. I mean, I would love to talk about a ton of different things. Like, I want to talk about how we. Great, thanks, Marco. I would like to talk about how we did combat. I think that is very interesting. But I think, oh, there's Monster of the Week has a luck system. Well, I don't know how it functions in Monster of the Week because I don't have it yet. I haven't read it. But yeah, luck is pretty fun, and I know that a lot of different games do it in a very different ways. But for me, luck is such a wonderful mechanic. I think I started using it even in like fantasy games for those situations where you want to play, you know, like more on the sim side. You want to buy all your equipment, you want to be prepared for a certain situation, but then you forget something and you're now in the middle of a problem and you say, oh, come on, I'm an archer, I would never forget to buy arrows. Like, I bought everything else, but I forgot my arrows. In those cases, I started using luck as, okay, make a luck roll to see if you remember to do it. And that's how Call of Cthulhu works. Like, you can do it like that. So if you start doing it, then if everyone starts with the same amount of luck, right? Everyone is lucky the same amount. So now you have a resource. Now you can do things with this resource. You can award it, you can take it away. And then that's how I presume the whole thing of boosting your rolls with luck. Like, you spend luck points. Now if you want to roll to recover, like to do such a thing, like retcon what you brought, now you have less luck. So it's you're weighing your options. That's something that I really liked, and we have contemplated just removing the ability to boost your rolls with luck. Everyone at the table said no, keep it, because it's such a gambling thing. You know, you are spending this resource that you never know what you're gonna need it for. Sometimes you just say, okay, who has the lowest luck? And if someone has lowest luck, something bad happens to them. If you're like going through a hallway and you're just like for example, a tunnel, you're exploring an urban environment and you're just going through a tunnel, like a vent or something, and like, who is going to be grabbed by their like leg and pulled outside by something strange? Well, just who has the lowest luck. And I think that's so good. You can do a lot of things with it, and now that's why we are thinking of, like, okay, you have this void thing in our game that is very, it's like where the human understanding stops. It's something that is like when you say a higher power, but we don't want to say it's good or bad. It just is. It's void. We have a lot of interpretations of void in the book, and then some people have had interaction with the void and are just completely changed. Others not so much. The way they're changed is very subtle. For some it's very dramatic, and so no one understands what void is, and it's not making monsters, but it's bending our reality just slightly. And void is usually the biggest yeah. Lazar lost his sight and then got a luck boost, and that it balances out things like this. But yeah, we have this. What I was trying to say is we have this void thing that is pretty much not the main reason for losing sanity, but usually in games you will find that void is what is driving the sanity loss, and insane people have a certain void quality to them. So we have void, we have sanity, and now we have luck, which is kind of like also a play of a higher power, right? So if you're lucky, is that void watching over you? So you have a mechanic we added, which is called void luck. Usually luck rolls cannot be boosted with aspects in our game, but you can boost your luck roll with a void die, and what you wanted to do will happen, but in a very strange way, in a twisted way. And if that void die fumbles, well, then you're gonna reroll it and lose that much sanity. You will still have your thing granted, but you will be losing some sanity. So this is the triangle of like your interaction with the higher power. You're either losing sanity or you're like, even we even thought about, and I think this is in the rules currently as an optional rule, if you're losing sanity, you're getting like half of that amount in luck. Losing the same amount of sanity and gaining the same amount of luck is too much. I'm not very fond of the half part because you have to do some basic math. Again, I'm trying to not have everything bloated with arithmetic. So this is still something that me and Lazar have to brainstorm about. But yeah, luck is, I think, my third video on the channel. It's a horrible video. I didn't explain anything right, but I think my third video was about luck from Call of Cthulhu, because like that's when I started playing Call of Cthulhu, and when I saw that mechanic, I just started using it everywhere, even maybe too much in some scenarios. But yeah, I don't know if this answers your question. I've just went on a tangent about luck, but I really have yeah, I love luck. So yeah, I think amazing. If you have any more questions, Lazar, if you have any comment, if you want to remind me of something that I should probably mention, yeah, go for it. I mean, my idea was to go to run this for like an hour and a half, so we're good. Just raining outside and I'm enjoying a nice cup of coffee. I have this goblin mug. Gremlin mug? Yeah, this is more of a gremlin than a goblin. Ugh, so much talking. But yeah, fun stuff. Now that I have so many people around me that finally want to help with like play testing, everyone is GMing for me. It's so wonderful. I have become a player again. We're gonna have even a little campaign from this Sunday, so I'm pretty excited for that. And it's gonna be a great way to test it with more people. Yeah, you missed that part. I just talked about how luck and void and sanity are this thing of their own. One thing that we saw is a big problem with luck. This is something that is probably useful to other designers. When you are playing a one-shot, luck, if you're spending it to boost rolls, luck can be really overpowered. Like, we needed to think about a limit of how much luck you can use. Currently, well, we said, wait just a second, yeah, we said like how many points, because it's a point by system and each point is like 10%, so how many points you have in a certain skill, that's how much luck you can use to boost that skill. Still not a huge fan, because this is a very valuable resource in campaigns, right? You're okay with spending 20 luck, you start with 50, you're okay with spending 20 luck to boost one single roll, because you know, I mean, we are okay with it because we know this is gonna be, you know, it's a big hit to your, I mean, to your character, right? You're on the bad side of luck then. But in a one shot, we saw like people spend like 20, 30 luck just to make sure their roll passes, and you know you're not losing anything. So we had to figure out a way to limit it. So be careful with like using luck to boost things. On the topic of boosting things, like right now we have, so you roll your skill, you can use up to 2 aspects, sometimes declared by the GM, sometimes the player has that freedom. Then you can use luck to boost that, and there is a progression system that I don't want to get into right now, but you can decrease, it's like spending your experience. It's not experience, it's something much simpler, but it's basically you can sacrifice your progression to boost that skill even more. And in one shots, this is just too many things that you can do to boost your roll. I think that is, I think Peter from Tales from Elsewhere had a video about how this is like arithmetic bloat, right? You need to do all these things to get your final number. So if you already have ways to boost your skills and you're playing a one shot, luck can be sort of like, you know, it can be another step. Usually you want to have the least number of steps to get that, like your normal roll, like scene to scene roll needs to be quick. But we decided not to change the aspects and skills. That is something that is going to stay. We can just, as of now, we're just including these findings in our GM guide so that people can pretty much modularly make their own red mark. That's the idea. Like, we don't want to be like here play rules as written and you will have the best game for your table. I think everyone will homebrew. It's easier if all the things are modular in a way. Like, the only thing that is really written in stone is the skills and aspects. That is the DNA. That is, everything is made from that. Your health, your sanity, your luck, your everything goes from those 6 skills and 6 aspects. So that's gonna, that is the core of the game. That is the system. Everything around it is pretty modular so that you can, like, you know, pick and choose for one shots. So if you have any more questions, I will gladly answer. Or Lazar, again, if you want to interfere, add something. If not, yeah, I think, yeah, we do have a Patreon page. If you like this channel or you want to support the game, that is how you support us. Don't chill it enough, I think. But yeah, there is no things on Patreon that are exclusive yet. I sometimes do like some handouts or like summaries of my videos there, but red mark material, it would be a shame to just have it on Patreon. Maybe we have some exclusive like behind the scenes, maybe some discussions, something, but usually it is like usually we will put everything that is related to red mark in the Discord, just to have as many people as possible having a look at it, play testing it. Yeah, we want to start as soon as we have the quick start done, and that should be pretty soon, I hope. This whole process is so hard. Like writing a book. Oh my god, I have never done anything harder. Like I mean I'm into a lot of different things, like artistic things. Like I've learned to play some instruments, not on any professional level, just barely, like dabble in them. But like making sessions is good, like learning to draw or to play an instrument, that is all like enjoyable. Writing, oh my god, it's so hard, so hard. So I hope we will have something soon, a quick start, and then I want to invite everyone to come to our Discord and let's have some playtests. We haven't done any like live plays, I think, and playtests on Discord so far. I don't think I've played in English. Like I think I had only 2 games in my life in English, which is strange, right? But I don't know, like role playing on another language it seems hard, even though I'm like all the content that I'm consuming is in English. Like I'm watching other people play D&D and other games in English, but it's hard. It's hard to sit down and just role play or run. I think running is even harder. But I'm willing to try. I think people should come and check it out, and we will do some playtests there. Hiccups mumbling instead of standard bouts of madness for Call of Cthulhu. Yeah, that's what I was aiming at with like if you have lingering insanity in Call of Cthulhu, I think there you can add something like that. For us, that's what we wanted to do. So if you have a bout of madness or manifestation of madness in our system, you can interpret that, okay, I'm gonna start mumbling, for example, or having hiccups, or you can decorate it however you want. With the bout of madness, it's too extreme for me. Like if you go into a bout of madness, you're gonna have a very extreme reaction, and for us it's okay if you if it's a very scary situation, you are gonna have a reaction. That is also something that we're trying to figure out. That's why we're looking at these levels. Like first bout of madness, how hard, how like mumbling and hiccups can be added to any sort of as like a trait that is grafted on top of whatever your main focus of the madness is. It's like your own I would say like a spice you add to it. But how do you differentiate from like, okay, I saw something that's unsettling and it just pushed me over 5 sanity, I am shaken, I'm disturbed, I start mumbling and I like get hiccups and just I'm losing it. How do you differentiate that from 3 of my triggers have just went off, I'm completely out of it? That's what we're trying to figure out right now, and not make it too complicated. So sure, there should be a point where you just get hiccups or you just start mumbling, and there should be a point where you're ready to like go and just through anyone just to get away from the situation. Those are very different things. I don't think they're pretty much the same in Call of Cthulhu, and that's what we're trying to figure out. Oh yeah, I mean when I tried playing in English this one time, role playing, funny enough, was I was playing with a person from Serbia and from Turkey. So, and also the other time I was playing with the people from Egypt. So in both these cases, they weren't native speakers, native English speakers. So it was easier for me to roleplay with, you know, learned things, just imitate what I saw online. I think those accents, the way I did them, that would be very, I don't know how that would sit with native speakers. I don't know how that would work. But explaining things and jumping from roleplay to like explaining things and describing things, that's what was the hardest for me. Like role-playing an NPC, it's pretty much just like me talking to the camera right now, but with a strange voice. But juggling all that and like I still I worked in IT for a long time. I'm on a bit of a vacation right now, but I worked in IT. I worked with people from USA mostly, so I'm kind of used to explaining things in English. Still, after a while, my thoughts start to be in English, but that transition is a bit hard for me. Like when I'm still thinking in Serbian, but you know I have to explain all these things, and yeah, it can be hard. By the way, this is not much different than when I make a normal video. I just sit down. Sometimes I have a script. I try to have a script, but writing scripts takes a long time. So I just sit down. I would say all of these things just out loud, and then I edit it into a video. But yeah, it's chaos. And like the place where I sit, it looks all nice here, but here, oh my god, it's amazing. Content creation. We're doing it with a gremlin mug. I was a bit nervous at the beginning. I hope now I seem more human. Yes, I can completely relate. Marco says when I DM in English, canonically all NPCs are Eastern European. Yeah. No, I get so I started to notice this is something that is really, I think I'm the only one who notices it. Like everybody says you have an accent, that's fine, you know. But when I was still working with people from USA and like speaking to them every day, I felt like my English was, you know, going. I was slowly adopting that accent, and now I'm unemployed for. I mean, I'm not unemployed. I'm working on Redmark promo material. This is our promo book for videos. It's a placeholder, but yeah. Now that I'm not talking to people, I feel like my videos are like more and more Eastern European. You know, it's so strange. Uh, you're way more human on videos. Thank you. Um, well, my mission failed. At least we covered sanity mechanics. Like 1 out of 2 things on this stream have been achieved, and that's wonderful. I mean, it's not that bad. I think I'm gonna do more streams, especially like explaining mechanics, and I think I will probably do a video on sanity as well at some point when we figure out all the little details. But I really want to do a stream where we talk about conflicts or combat, because I think combat is something that we really struggled with. How to make it fun and not make it and make it engaging, but not make it too rules heavy. And how do you balance all that when 2 attacks are enough to kill your character? So yeah, that was a fun one. And that's gonna be a stream probably, because you know how on earth that's gonna be a video over 20 minutes for sure. Now people already joke that I'm incapable of making a video that is less than 10 minutes long. Whew. So I'm thinking also on starting after we are gonna have our friend Marco. He's in the chat here. He's my first DM. That you are responsible for all this, for this stream, for Redmark. You know, it's like vampires. The GMs are basically vampires. They bite you and then you get just forever to live and be like need blood, need sessions, need to roll dice. Yeah. So yeah, there is a term for that, right? Like the vampire who created you. Yeah, I think so. Anyways, he got me into this, and he's gonna run a sci-fi like session, couple of sessions in this system, and then afterwards, cursed with the forever GM curse. Well, you see that Redmark is getting me out of this curse, because like a bunch of people from our group started just trying it out, trying to GM with this system. And I think that is a good thing. That is a good sign. If people want to GM your system and they feel comfortable jumping into the rules, I think that's a good sign. Still, I think we are in a bit of a bubble where if only people from Serbia with this experience are, you know, playing the games, I think you're in a sort of like a bubble. We need to go and release that quick start and see like what other people from what other people think from around the world. And yeah, we wanted to do also like a campaign that is going to be almost like a medieval Dark Ages campaign that's in this system as well. Because, you know, 2 bullets to get your character versus 2 arrows, it checks out. But there we wanted to call like void, just make it dusk, you know, and color it like that. Already so many ideas for supplements and things. But yeah, we will see. Hey, Mladen, my friend from elementary school, how are you doing? I saw that you also started to make stuff online. Pretty cool, pretty cool. Jenkins, I really like the system. Well, you are one of the rare few that tried it. I mean, rare few that tried it multiple times. Oh, I'm good. I'm good. Still, just doing my thing. We're making a book. I don't know if you're uh, familiar with what we're doing here, but basically we're talking about tabletop games mostly. Oh man. So yeah, I think that is that for today. Oh, and your message is coming in. Yeah, my mod says go over how a character typically looks. Well, character creation, that is a topic that is hard to cover. I mean, usually you would have, right? And there is, my group is slowly hijacking the chat. Yeah, Igor had his first game ever last Sunday, right? Last Sunday, and it was wild. It was pretty cool. First game to run. I think he's the person who missed, like, ever since I started GMing. I think he missed maybe 3 or 4 games. That guy is here every Sunday, just not missing a game. Now finally I get to sit on the other side of the table and see what he was cooking for us. It was a sick thing, like Call of Cthulhu-esque scenario, I think 1920s, right? Something like that. Yeah, we had houses with hairy doors and, you know, the usual creepy stuff. But yeah, character creation is, yeah, that's a big topic, and I think we have nailed down all the aspects of it, because let's face it, you have 25 points, you arrange them in your skills, you have 9 points, you arrange them in your aspects, and you're pretty much set to go. From that you derive your health, your sanity, and everything, and then you choose if you want any dark secrets, triggers, if you have any conditions or injuries that are like that you already have before the game. You get your 50 luck, and that's pretty much it. You're good to go. Gear and resources are abstracted. This is something that I saw in Cthulhu Eternal. This is something that also is abstracted in Crown and Skull, which I really like. So we approached it from that side of things, especially because, like, you know, in times you're not gonna count how much money you have on your bank account. You're just gonna have a number that represents how well standing you are, and then you have gear that you want to keep an eye out on, like not this huge list of things that you own, but like only things that you want to remember, the notable things, and then you use the resource value to see if you have something. There's a it's not called What's in the Bag, it's that show, it's something like that. Maybe it's called like that in Cthulhu Eternal. By the way, Cthulhu Eternal, pretty cool stuff. It's Delta Green uses it, I think. It's open source branch of Call of Cthulhu without any of the like copyrighted things. Very cool. I will probably, after the stream, I will put the link, or mod, just Google Cthulhu Eternal and paste the link. They have different settings, and yeah, it's 90% the same as Call of Cthulhu, but with some like additional things for resources. Yeah, resources, that's where we got it from. I think you have credit rating in Call of Cthulhu and resources in Cthulhu Eternal. Yeah. So they do resources differently, they do weapons a bit differently, and they have breaking point for sanity and not the 1/5 thing. So yeah. Pretty much that's the overview of the character sheet. Let me see if I have this here. So yeah, that's the overview. And we just have resources as one value here. What can I say? This character sheet, of course, this is not going to be the final thing. This is just what we use right now. This whole area is just like a temporary thing if you have any bonuses or skills to remember, like, you know, same as health. But I'm thinking of removing that part because I think no one ever wrote anything there in our tests. But yeah, that's what like things like these are for. Just make any character sheet, see what people want to see on it, and then add it. For example, our death timer is now a heart here. That is new. But yeah, I can, as soon as you prompt me, I will just continue talking about a different mechanic and thing. I think we should wrap it up for now. Yeah, my mod says he's a mod now so he can play later. That is how I pay my mod. Just pay him in sessions. He also started DMing. That is a wonderful thing. So now he's just DMing. Shout out. Amazing. Cool. I think we should wrap it up. I have nothing else to say except ramble. That's the coffee. After the goblin coffee, I'm just gonna crack a beer, living the healthier lifestyle that I deserve. I don't know. Do I do an outro on these? Yeah, this is gonna be much more professional next time, because this is breaking the ice. I'm first time on a live thing. We don't have any, you know, any like fancy overlays or things. Even this thing that like we have the top-down view, like wow, even that is very fancy. It took me a while, but yeah, we're gonna do this the proper way next time, and we're gonna have an agenda and all that stuff. But cool. I'm satisfied with how this went. Hopefully it didn't last too long. Hopefully there is interesting things here, because I have no idea if these are like if these are useful, you know. For me, I've been looking at these for so long that I've kind of been used to all of the mechanics, and then I don't know if, you know, I've shed light on something new. But yeah, hopefully indie game developers together strong. So yeah, do I do my regular outro? We'll figure that one in the next stream. For now, I bid you farewell, keepers.